Every year, more than 3 billion air passengers head for the skies. The vast majority return safely to Earth without incident. But a small number experience life-changing moments they will never forget.
It was like a war zone in the sky.
We hear first-hand accounts from the passengers and pilots who have lived through the most shocking extremes of air travel.
Went on the wildest teacup ride you could ever imagine.
From great escapes
Run, it's gonna blow.
to mad moments and highway robbery
This is now going to cost you £24,000.
to highway landings.
It's definitely something I don't teach in driving schools, how to avoid a plane.
In the age of the smartphone, these events are caught on camera as never before.
Awesome.
We reveal exclusive footage never seen on television. So keep your seatbelts fastened for the world's wildest flights. In this episode of World's Wildest Flights, the 77-year-old first-time flyer who takes over the controls.
Mayday, mayday, mayday.
I didn't know how to land an aircraft. I'd never done it.
Have you done any flying before? Negative.
70 minutes of bone-shaking turbulence.
So I'm wondering, how much can this plane stand? I mean, it's really, really, really shaking.
Terror at 4,000 feet for a young Canadian couple.
He said, "We're not getting any response from the controls." I was like, no, this is not happening.
The passenger who spent a penny, which cost him his flight.
You know, it was just kind of get your thing, let's go. So I'm asking, am I going to be able to return on the plane?
And a crash landing at sea in the shark-infested Pacific Ocean.
So we hit the water 50, 60 miles an hour, and that's how I got the gash in my head and bleeding all over the place.
October 2013, Lincolnshire, England. 77-year-old John Wildest has flown the 50 miles southeast from Sandtoft Airport to Skegness with a pal who's a pilot. The two of them spent the day at the local Butlins holiday camp with his friend's cousin, and they're about to head home from the nearby airfield just as the light is falling.
About 5:30, we started engines. Well, he did. And we took off, did a circle round Butlins to wave to his cousin, and then set course for Sandtoft.
After about 15 minutes, the pilot begins to feel unwell.
He suddenly started hyperventilating. And I said to him, "What's up, mate?" And he says, "I don't know, I feel sick." I said, "Should we go somewhere else? Should we land somewhere else and divert?" He said, "No, I'm all right now."
John has never actually flown a plane, but his mate asked him to steer the Cessna 172 while he sorts himself out.
I was trying to concentrate on keeping us steady.
The pilot positions the GPS device in front of John to show him the direction he should be steering the plane in to get back to Sandtoft.
Unfortunately, the sun was setting in that area and we were heading right into it. So all I could see was a black little box on the dashboard, and I couldn't really see it. I'd just make out the arrow which gives the direction, and I followed that.
At nearby Humberside Airport, John Cameron is on air traffic control duties.
So it was getting towards the end of the shift, about 6:30 in the evening. For some reason, it was actually a quieter evening than I expected.
A15, the helicopter traffic was just crossing the north bank of the river.
And got 2/3 of the way through the shift, so just waiting for the last third of the shift just to wind down and just sort of finish off with the last aircraft of the day.
Over 1,000 feet up, the pilot has taken a turn for the worse.
So we chatted a bit, and then he started hyperventilating again. And I said, "Oh, you all right, mate?" And he just went out completely, and his head slumped back on the seat, and that was it. He was unconscious. And I kept tugging him and said, "Mate, you wake, mate." Nothing. And that's when I realised I was on my own.
Even though John has never actually piloted an aircraft, he does remember how to use the radio.
So I pressed the button, the RTT, and said, "Mayday, mayday, mayday." because I've read the books, as you know.
Mayday, mayday, mayday.
The three words, and generally when you get a mayday call, you're going to get a pilot telling you where he is, what he's doing, what's happening, how many people on board, but it was just three words, and then the transmission ended.
And he came back to me and says, unit calling, what is your problem? So then pressed again and said,
I'm a passenger. My pilot seems to be unconscious, but I'm not a pilot. Over.
As soon as I heard the words, he's not the pilot, my mind is just exploding into thinking, how many people are on board the aircraft? Is there somebody on board the aircraft? Is this a joke?
He came back to me and I explained the position and that I was airborne and that we were heading for Sandtop.
Have you done any flying before? Negative.
You see professional pilots damage their aircraft on a regular basis, and the time frame, it's getting near dark. All these small amounts added up to a huge possibility that he's not going to actually be able to sort of survive the next half an hour.
February 2017, Vancouver, Canada. Anthony Bordignon fell for Catherine Wareham, the girl next door. Well, a near neighbour anyway.
She moved in across the street from me, and we got to know each other because we both had little children.
Yeah, we became friends and we had play dates with the kids and stuff like that, and yeah, eventually it grew into liking each other.
They've been dating for 2 years and do agree on most things, but there's one topic they don't see eye to eye about. Anthony's other great obsession.
I've always had a passion for doing fun and interesting things, and so for me, I was always excited to jump on that opportunity to get into flying. But Catherine is a little bit nervous when it comes to flying.
Yes, petrified. I don't like it whatsoever.
Catherine has only ever flown with Anthony once before, but there's something in the air and he's determined to get her reaching for the skies again.
She knew it was a big part of my life, so when I mentioned to her, Catherine, we're gonna go flying, are you okay? She was quite reluctant, but at the same time, she was willing to say okay, but very reluctantly.
He had to kind of persuade me because obviously I was really, really scared, but I knew it was really important to him because he's been doing flying for a long time, like since before I even met him. So I wanted to kind of do that for him.
Catherine and Anthony arrive at the airport, but it's a rather tense time for the young lovebirds.
So I had so many things on my mind that I was stressed. But mostly I was focused on, okay, I'm taking Catherine flying in a new aircraft for the first time. Let's make sure everything goes safely. Lining up.
Commercially, I had flown, I think, maybe once or twice, but in a small little plane like that, I had only ever gone up with him once. So I was scared.
The plane is an extremely small aircraft. We have barely enough room to breathe, quite frankly. And so it's nerve-wracking.
But they squeeze up and prepare for takeoff.
I was just scared for that initial feeling of being off of the ground and wondering if something's going to go wrong. You kind of always just think about the worst case scenario.
We were probably flying for about 8 to 10 minutes, and we fly from the airport into a general practice area is what they call it, where you're free to fly almost whichever way you want within certain guidelines.
And then the Diamond DV-20 suddenly loses power.
He said something along the lines of,
I'm not getting any response out of the controls here.
And immediately I was like, no, this is not happening.
I think you were saying a little prayer at that point. So she's looking at me thinking, what's going on? Is this normal? And at that point, I knew she was confused and she was alarmed and uneasy. And I said,
can you grab the checklist on the side?
And I said, you know what? We're going to have to land in a field, so don't panic. And
Next one. We might have to land in the field. I'm not even kidding you.
This one, forced landing. Car P on.
Okay.
Got it.
I didn't really have a thought that I was gonna die, but just the thought of, like I said, crashing into a field and potentially breaking my legs. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was just very, very scared.
Yes.
Determine wind direction.
Got it. And she began reading through the checklist.
I felt sick, I think. Look at the look on my face. Although inside I was burning with fear, I just tried to remain as calm as I could.
Then Anthony has some good news.
Oh, we're getting some response.
You're lying.
What's going on? I said to her, oh, we're getting some response. And at that moment, she goes, you're lying. At that moment, I thought she was cluing in. In fact, she wasn't.
How can you not understand what he's saying?
And at that moment, she screamed, so she was in fear of her life. And so that was an exciting moment because I knew she had no idea at that point.
I thought he was trying to make me feel better because I was literally so scared.
With the aircraft dropping through the sky, Catherine continues to work through the emergency checklist.
I followed the instructions as best as I could. At one point, I think 11, 12, and 13 on the list, he had those little hints thrown in there about check if flight ring is engaged.
Initiate ring engagement process, follow steps 11 to 14.
Okay, go for it.
It just all sounds like plane jargon. Like it was just kind of like, it flew right over my head, literally, like right over my head.
Okay, got it.
It isn't until item number 14 on the list that the penny finally drops.
What's going on?
Does the pass?
Go on, please.
I hate you!
That meant I love you.
Will the pilot in command love the passenger forever? Check.
Ew.
Will you marry the pilot?
My crying face is not very sweet. I can't even remember what it said for sure, or the passenger marry the pilot in command, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this.
Hun?
The whole crash landing scare was an elaborate scam by Anthony to pop the question to Catherine. He got a suitable response.
Such an idiot.
Is that a yes?
I love you so much.
Called him an idiot? Yeah, I accepted by calling him an idiot and shaking my head and acting completely confused. It was not your typical proposal.
I grabbed the ring from the pocket and she just took the ring and that was it. The deal was done.
He's not the most romantic of guys. The flight back was definitely emotional. I was still scared, like I could feel my legs shaking for like the entire ride home. And I just wanted to get back onto land. I wanted to be able to hug him and give him a kiss and, really experience the experience of being proposed to.
The couple come back down to earth for a heavenly ceremony.
We had a small wedding in Vancouver and it was simple and it was beautiful and it was a great day.
It was very nice, very beautiful. The weather cooperated too, so I was happy.
But one aspect of their relationship still hasn't hit the heights since that unorthodox proposal.
Have I flown with Anthony since? No. Hard no.
So she hasn't given it a definitive no. There may be a day where she comes flying with me again, but I think it'll be a while before I earn her trust back.
So cute.
John Wildest is the only passenger in a Cessna 172 flying 2,000 feet above Lincolnshire in England.
Mayday, mayday, mayday.
The pilot has passed out and is now completely unresponsive. So John, who has never flown a plane before, is doing all he can just to keep the Cessna on an even keel.
I didn't know how to land an aircraft, I'd never done it, and I was just hoping beyond hope that it was going to come to.
John Cameron of Humberside Air Traffic Control is doing his best to keep John airborne.
Going through my mind is how can we minimise any damage that could happen if the plane was to suddenly go out of control. But the sooner we got him down on the ground, the better it would be.
The authorities decide to divert the flight to Humberside, the largest airport in the vicinity. A local landmark guides in the first-time pilot.
So he said, do you know whereabouts you are? I said, yeah, I can see the Humber Bridge from here. And by this time it was lit up by the setting sun. So I set course for there, headed towards it. And he said, when you get there, we'll guide you back to the airport.
He called the Humber Bridge and then he turned right, told him to follow the bypass down, and then he was able to pick up the runway lights for the main runway.
The airport calls in flight instructor Roy Murray.
I was told, is it possible you can come back to the airport? We're having a bit of an incident. There's a lad that's flying an aeroplane. He's never flown before, and we've got to get him back home on the ground. So I said, OK. And then we started.
My name's Roy Murray. I'm a chief flying instructor. We're going to get you down onto the ground, OK?
That'll be very helpful. Thank you very much.
He asked me, had I flown before? And I said, no, this is the first time I've actually held the controls. I'm not a pilot, I've got no licence, I've never taken any lessons.
So there's no problem, John, we'll get you down on the ground. Let's just do what I ask you to do, and then we'll see how we go on from there.
At about 7 o'clock, the Cessna 172 approaches Humberside Airport.
The light itself was fading. When John came into view of the airport, we thought, great, hopefully 5 minutes we'll be able to get it done and dusted, be able to walk away and get help to the pilots as soon as possible.
It's easiest to land an aircraft into the wind, so the plane will naturally slow as it touches down and will not be blown off course by a crosswind. Runway 26 faces in the best direction to take advantage of the weather conditions as dusk falls.
So what we're going to do, we're going to turn you to the right, and then you're going to land on runway 26. Roger.
Runway 26 was a nice option. There'd be a nice headwind of 12 to 15 knots. The aircraft would have been able to slow down.
There are only two problems. It's a short runway, only 800 metres long.
A 26 runway is notoriously short, and he came in very, very high and was heading towards the ground quite steeply.
And this particular landing strip is not lit.
Unfortunately, because it was dark, I couldn't outline the difference between the runway itself and the grass and the ground. I just couldn't see it. In fact, I was over it and I just suddenly caught sight of the runway underneath me.
It just looks like you've overshot a little bit, so what we're going to do, we're going to take you round again.
I told him to climb away again, put the throttle in, pull the stick back and climb back up again.
John has failed in his first attempt to bring his plane safely down to Earth. And as the sun slowly sets over the Lincolnshire landscape, it's only going to get harder.
Yeah, there was a small amount of daylight for him to land on. He was just trying to get him in onto the runway, but he said it was too dark. So the anxiety levels are getting raised. The longer an incident goes on, the more likely something is going to go wrong.
April 2017, Atlanta, USA. Keema Hamilton is heading back to Wisconsin after a visit to his mum. It's a busy day at the airport and his flight is held up. After about half an hour on the runway, the Milwaukee resident begins to hear the call of nature.
I started feeling it coming, but still, was trying to wait for the plane to take off and level out so I could use the restroom.
Unfortunately, the urge just gets stronger when the captain makes an announcement as the plane waits in line.
The pilot got on the intercom and said that we were like third in line to take off, which said to my bladder that it's going to take a little longer than I'd considered.
And that's when Keema makes his first bid to relieve the mounting pressure.
The plane wasn't moving, and I approached the door. The flight attendant, she told me that I could go, but it would be, that we would lose our spot in line. So I went and sat back down initially.
But after another 10 minutes or so on the runway, Keema is fit to burst.
An emergency at this stage now. I'm no longer able to hold it. So I approached the door again, and at this time I'm using language like emergency, right? This is, I'm sorry, ma'am, this is an emergency. So she, gestured to kind of open the door for me to use the restroom, and it was with some degree of reluctance, but at that point couldn't necessarily emotionally connect to that.
Keema makes it to the conveniences. But the inconvenience for him really starts after he gets back to his seat.
Like I sat down, and then the pilot came on the intercom to say that we were now returning to the gate to remove a passenger.
Back at the terminal, Kima realizes to his horror, he is that passenger.
It was a Delta employee that got onto the plane, and he asked me to get my belongings to get off of the plane, and I initially was just asking why.
I purchased this ticket. Can you help me understand why? We're going to discuss this outside. Not here, outside. Follow me, please follow me. I need more information, sir. I haven't done anything. I paid for this ticket, and I actually have to get home. So I'm going to share this. We're not going to discuss this right. I can answer you. I'm not really clear on why I'm being asked to leave this plane.
It was just kind of get your thing, let's go. So I'm asking, once we understand that this is a big misunderstanding, am I going to be able to return on the plane? And at this point, I still haven't been able to explain what was going on.
We're not going to discuss this right here outside. I'm going to ask you one more time, please.
But it was never allowed that opportunity. So the first Delta employee left the plane, and that's when the second gentleman Delta employee came on. And we had we'll call it a conversation, because we both had an opportunity to speak, but I don't know if what I was saying was ever received.
Right. And I'm completely open to talk about it. Indicating, I think a lot can happen in that space. Right. This is not one of these scenarios where it's like forcing you on the aircraft level. I'm going to talk to you.
So I'm not being aggressive. As a matter of fact, I'm making a conscious effort not to be threatening. If I raise my voice at any point in that exchange, Delta's removing an unruly customer, and my pictures on TV with that narrative on it, and we keep it moving. Black man's loud on the plane.
I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. How is this helping me by not letting me get to where I'm trying to go at the time that I need to be there? How is this helping me?
Eventually, Kima's need to spend a penny cost him his flight home.
Once the second Delta employee left, they decided to deboard the entire plane.
The feds are waiting for the part-time DJ as he leaves the aircraft.
There were the agents there to interview me about what was taking place or what was happening. The agent said that he came to arrest me.
The FBI quickly decide that no crimes have been committed, but Delta won't let Kima back on the flight. He eventually flies home with Southwest Airlines about 10 hours later than his scheduled departure. Delta Airlines said, "Our flight crews are extensively trained to ensure the safety and security of all customers. It is imperative that passengers comply with crew instructions during all phases of flight, especially at the critical points of takeoff and landing." Kima is now pursuing legal action against the airline.
I have had to replay it a lot, and I don't know if there's anything I'd do different. When you pull back layers, I had to use it was an emergency restroom, and the plane wasn't moving.
77-year-old John Wildest is the only passenger in a Cessna 172 flying high over Humberside in the northeast of England. His friend, the pilot, is completely unresponsive, so John has taken over the controls and tried unsuccessfully to land the plane at Humberside Airport. He has never flown before. Now darkness is setting in, and to make matters worse, John is struggling to see the instruments in the growing gloom.
I didn't know where the dashboard light was, and I couldn't see the dashboard at all.
Yeah, any idea how to turn the lights on the dashboard, are there?
As every aircraft can be configured differently, the team on the ground don't know where the light switch will be, and a mistake could be fatal.
We're to tell him the light switch is in the top right-hand corner, the console, and he flicks the wrong switch and it knocks all the electrics off. Then we are back in the Stone Age with regard to how much help we can actually provide to John.
Are you in a position to tell us what your speedometer's saying? Sorry, I can't see it at all now.
So the only information John has is what he can see out of the windscreen.
I didn't know what height I was, I didn't know what my speed was, and I didn't know if I was straight and level. It's like driving down a motorway with no lights on the dashboard and trying to keep to a set speed. You just can't do it.
But the novice pilot has no choice but to attempt a second landing. This time, he'll be aiming for Humberside Airport's main runway.
It's getting very, very dark. So I thought I'd got to get him round on the runway, that's where all the lights are.
One thing has finally swung in John's favour. As night falls, the weather conditions which made this runway a death trap just a short time earlier are starting to change.
The wind will die off slightly as it gets darker, so the crosswind wasn't going to be as bad for the main runway.
The first-time flyer lines up on runway 20.
They brought me round and they said, "Can you see the approach lights?" I said, "Yes, I can."
Turn right, turn left, bring the power back a little bit, put the aircraft in a little nose down a little bit to control your rate of descent.
And I approached it, and they were telling me to get down, you're too fast. So I took the throttle in a bit.
It was coming in too high and too fast.
I think you better go round, John. Full power and go round.
Roy aborts John's second landing attempt.
So I pulled back on the yoke and went a bit higher and round.
John has now been flying solo for over an hour, and there is a new worry for the team at the airport.
One of the things on the back of your mind, you're always thinking, is it going to run out of fuel? And again, can you get him on the ground before it runs out of fuel?
I knew there was going to be a stage where I'm going to have to go down regardless. You know, I couldn't go on forever.
So John lines up for his third landing attempt.
Next time I came in approach, I was too low.
He was dropping too short, he'd have ended up on the road.
And so he was told to climb, and as he climbed, he was therefore became too high.
I tried to climb without putting power on. The next thing I knew was that the left wing, port wing, dropped, and all I could see was a house in the front, a farmhouse or something, spinning round me. And how the hell I got out of that, I don't know. This was the worst time, the whole thing.
The strain is finally starting to show on the beleaguered 77-year-old.
After the second attempt on runway 20, the voice pitch started to change slightly. And when the voice changes, you start to think, is he getting too tired?
I was tired. We've been flying since 5:30, and it was now, I think, about 7:45, and I was really, really tired. And I just wanted to sit down and have a cup of tea.
Unfortunately for John, this is no time to get a kettle on. Now exhausted and unable to read his instruments in the dark, the pensioner comes in for his fourth landing attempt.
Have you got the runway in sight, John, still?
Yeah, it's on my starboard beam.
I made the final approach, and it seemed to be I was on the right height and level.
And you're thinking, get it down, get it down, get it down, and you can watch the height come off the aircraft on the radar itself.
I kept saying to him, Paul, just keep the attitude coming down, that's the rate of descent coming down. Keep it coming down. Make little adjustments if need be, which he did.
Put some power on. Power on.
He says, keep coming, John, you're doing fine. Just keep coming. Now you're over the approach, John. Right, slow right down, pull the yoke back. Pull it back, John, pull it back.
Keep coming down. Power off. Power off, you're over the road.
Well, you can watch on radar the point where he passes the road, so you think he's over the road now, he's a couple of 100 feet going over the road. And there's no reason why he shouldn't be able to actually land on the runway now.
Keep coming down.
And they hit the deck, and that stage it bounced. I think it bounced twice, I'm not sure.
A few sparks, but the crosswind just started to take the aircraft just slightly from right to left.
And then I thought, I can't stop it. And then I saw this board, the indicator board for the runway, and that was coming towards me. Oh, I'm going to hit this after all that. But she stopped in time.
There you go, you made it. Well done.
That's your first night landing.
Good, well done. And that was the end of it.
John lands the plane safely, but sadly the ambulance team on the ground confirmed that his friend, the pilot, died during the flight.
So you're thinking, great, that's it, everybody's happy, he's going to walk away. But I will always feel saddened that somebody died. And how could I have done something to make it better?
I was in two minds. One, I'm actually doing what I've always wanted to do, fly an airplane. And I'm doing it fairly well, you know, because I was keeping a fairly straight level, and I was keeping her on the course, and I was really proud of myself, actually, being able to do it. But my mate had died, and that's not the really way to go.
December 2013, Hawaii, USA. Clyde Kawasaki has been flying since he was 14 years old. But he didn't face his greatest challenge as a pilot until more than 40 years later on what seems like a routine run from the friendly island, Molokai.
Beautiful Hawaii weather, you know, scattered clouds, nice and warm, and nice light breeze. You go in, you check in, you take care of your airplane, you do your flight plans, and off you go. It was a normal day. The takeoff was normal, completely normal.
Clyde is taking 8 passengers from Molokai to nearby Honolulu on a single-engine Cessna 208B. But after less than a minute, disaster strikes.
You heard this bang, and it was quiet as far as the engine noises. You knew it quit.
Multiple compressor turbine blades have fractured in the plane's only engine, so the aircraft has no power at all, and it hasn't gained enough height to glide any great distance.
We were very, very low. We were very, very heavy. We had fuel to make the trip, plus these people were not small people. They were 180, 200 pounds or better, including myself. But we were near max gross takeoff weight at the time.
Clyde is left with very few options.
It only took about a second or two to realize I'm not going to make land. So the best thing I could do was just put it in the water as slowly as possible.
But just a few hundred feet above the waves, there's only so much you can do.
Everybody asked me, you know, were you trained in ocean water land? Oh yeah, we all are, you know, land with the swell in the trough or in the top. And when you're that low to the water, you don't have a whole lot of time to figure out which way the wind's coming from, which way the waves are coming from. So you try to impact the water as slow as possible so that, you know, the aircraft does not disintegrate.
If the aircraft is smashed apart by the impact, it will sink very quickly. But if it holds together, it should float, giving a crucial window of opportunity for the passengers to escape.
So we hit the water 50, 60 miles an hour, and I was thrown into the instrument panel. And that's how I got the gash in my head and bleeding all over the place.
The plane is still intact, but floating nose down in the water.
I was like, okay, time to get out.
The passengers will need something to keep them afloat in the ocean while they wait to be rescued.
I got out of the cockpit. Everybody's putting on their life vests.
The terrified travelers evacuate the fast-sinking plane, but one passenger hasn't left.
I says, what are you doing here? He goes, I'm come back to look for another life vest for my wife. I says, okay, and I saw one floating there. So I picked it up and handed it to him and says, okay, go.
But Clyde can't get to his own life jacket because the cockpit is now underwater.
I found a seat cushion. They worked pretty good as a flotation device and jumped out.
The passengers cling desperately together, but a 6-foot wave rips the group apart.
The wave came in and that was it. Everybody went their different directions.
By now, Clyde has given up the cushion to another ailing passenger, and he is bleeding heavily.
I was getting very, very tired because I had no flotation device, and I was basically dressed the way I am now. And swam up to another couple. I asked them if I could hang on to them, you know, because I was gonna wind up drowning because I was tired. And the first thing he said was, sure, but he looks at me and he goes, brother, you're bleeding. I go, yeah, I know.
They all realize that Clyde's wound may alert the man-eating sharks that live in the waters off Hawaii.
So It was an understanding already that if the bill collector decided to come around, then I would have to depart from them, because they would be coming after me, not them.
Fortunately, the sharks don't sense the blood, but the passengers do have to cling on for dear life for 80 minutes before help arrives. 8 people survived the crash, but one of Clyde's passengers, Loretta Fuddy, died as a result of heart problems in the water after leaving the plane.
I have to take care of my passengers first before I take care of myself. And I did everything I possibly could, and it still ended up that way. And it angers me, it frustrates me, you know, that it happened the way it did. You know, I think of it almost every day.
December 2014, Seoul, South Korea. Texan Mark Stanley flies more than 100,000 miles every year as part of his job as an international lawyer. But even this veteran globetrotter has never experienced anything quite like this flight before. He takes his business class seat on flight AA280, and it leaves on schedule from Seoul Incheon Airport to his hometown of Dallas.
Boarded the flight. The takeoff was entirely uneventful, as was the first hour of the flight.
Fellow Texan John Mitchell is heading stateside on the same plane. He's in coach class. For the first hour or so, the flight is completely uneventful.
The food service was in process. The seatbelt sign was not on. There was absolutely no indication of what was about to happen.
I had my entire meal in front of me, I think, when the turbulence hit. I had a full tray of food. We fell. I mean, it was just a ridiculous fall. Several hundred feet, it felt like to me. I mean, you felt like the plane was literally falling, and everything went up. And people started screaming. It was insane. And the food and everything, all the plates and everything went up, hit the ceiling, and came back down. It was bizarre.
I immediately fastened my seatbelt because it wasn't fastened, and I thought to myself, boy, that was some strong turbulence.
So the lady next to me had a dinner plate that literally hit the ceiling, came back down, hit her on the head, and cracked on her head. I'm not joking.
Show me the bowl that hit your head. It broke. Hey.
The flight attendant to my left, she bounced up, hit her head off the ceiling, and broke the exit sign. She fell on the ground, and the food cart landed on top of her.
It's sort of like a bucking bronco. I mean, it's really hard to control. It was harrowing.
I think people were evaluating what was going on and having just no idea of what's happening.
This is the most frightening thing I've ever seen.
This kind of shaking is the result of the plane flying through very disturbed pockets of air, what is known as turbulent airflow.
There are many causes of turbulence. The main two causes are thunderstorms with significant updrafts and downdrafts with wind speeds up to 270 kilometres an hour. The other one, which is a real silent one, is clear air turbulence, typically associated with jet stream activity, where again, wind speeds up in the 200 to 300 kilometre an hour range.
Flight AA280 hit clear air turbulence. This is the most dangerous form of turbulence because it's very hard to detect.
Pilots today are armed with a radar system called multi-scan radar, which looks well ahead and scans thunderstorms and other weather events from the base right to the top and delivers a very sophisticated picture of the problems ahead. However, Clear air turbulence is still a problem. It is being worked on, but we don't yet have a perfect solution to avoid clear air turbulence.
And once the plane has flown into a major occurrence of these conditions, there may be no quick solution.
The pilot in this case had a couple of options. One was to slow the aircraft down, which he did. The other one was to find smoother air, which I believe was not an option because this turbulence was so widespread.
So I've flown a lot, and you have some turbulence that you experience all the time. Just a little bit of turbulence, you know, people say get nervous and the plane's shaking. Nothing like this. Then it kept happening over and over again. And I said, well, we'll be through this in a second. But I mean, it's hopping and hopping and hopping. The shaking literally continued on for an hour.
I just did not know what was happening, and I thought it was going to be my last flight.
Initially, Mark's main concern was with his comfort, but as the shaking goes on, he starts to worry about his safety.
So I'm wondering, how much can this plane stand? I mean, it's really, really, really shaking. And I started to get a little bit nervous, but I was also trying to calm people down. As it went on, the major thought was, how long can this aircraft withstand this kind of torture on the frame? And that's what scared me the most.
But modern planes are designed for heavy turbulence, and actually, it has less effect than you might imagine.
The plane does not move around as much as passengers would think. We hear 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet, when in reality it's probably 10 or maybe 100 feet maximum. However, it is violent, it is very unnerving, and really does shake passengers up significantly. Turbulence has been, and still is, very dangerous, particularly back in the 1960s. Back in that era, weather radar was no more than a rudimentary rain gauge. In the 1960s, there were 24 accidents, 762 deaths related to turbulence events. Since 2000, however, the number has been dramatically reduced. So we've learned an enormous amount about turbulence and its impacts.
In this case, the plane survives about 70 minutes of turbulence before the pilot comes on and announces that the flight is diverting to Tokyo Narita Airport.
The plane is turning. I think we're going to Tokyo.
By now, the aircraft looks like a crime scene.
I mean, there was food everywhere, on the ceiling, on the floor. The carts had turned over. There was food that had spilled out of the carts. It was absolutely the most disgusting thing. My clothes were absolutely covered with food.
All I know is all my food went just flying.
Yeah, no kidding.
You got wine all over you.
Oh, yeah, nice.
After a further terrifying 2.5 hours in the air, the Boeing 777 finally puts down in Japan.
There were emergency vehicles chasing us down. They set up a hospital with a tent next to our plane. By that time, we were just glad to be alive.
There were 2 serious injuries, and another 10 passengers suffered minor medical problems. This experience of traumatic turbulence hasn't put Mark off flying, but it has changed one thing.
I keep my seatbelt on the entire flight. If I get up, I try to get back down on my seat because I don't know when this is going to happen again. Every time there's air turbulence, I flash back to American 280 from Seoul, and it frightens me for a second, and then I just calm down.